Flying today feels expensive, rushed, and rule-heavy, which is why most passengers assume that everything on board comes with a price tag. Extra comfort, help, or small conveniences are often seen as upgrades you have to pay for, but that's not always true. In reality, airlines quietly offer a surprising number of free things that most passengers never ask for simply because they don't know they're allowed to. Flight attendants won't announce these perks over the intercom, and airlines don't advertise them clearly because many of these free items cost time, effort, or inventory. The system relies on passengers staying quiet. Seniors and frequent flyers often miss out the most, assuming that asking for extras will be seen as annoying or inappropriate. But on most flights, especially long ones, crew members are trained to assist passengers who speak up politely. There are comfort items, service options, and small benefits that can make a flight far more pleasant without costing you a single dollar. The difference between an uncomfortable flight and a surprisingly smooth one often comes down to knowing what you can ask for and when to ask. This video breaks down free things you didn't know you could request on board, things that are already available but rarely mentioned. These aren't loopholes or special favors. They're part of standard airline service that quietly exists for passengers who know their options. If you want to travel smarter and get more value from every flight, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future airline tips most travelers never hear about. Now let's get into the free things you can ask for on a flight that could completely change your travel experience. 1. Free comfort items. Most passengers don't realize are available. One of the biggest airline secrets is how many basic comfort items are available for free, but only if you ask. Most passengers sit through long flights uncomfortable, assuming that blankets, pillows, or other comfort items are either sold separately or reserved for premium cabins. In reality, many airlines still carry complimentary comfort supplies, especially on medium and long-haul flights. The reason passengers don't receive them is simple. Flight attendants don't automatically hand them out unless requested. Blankets are one of the most common examples. Even when they're not visible in overhead bins, they're often stored in crew compartments. Seniors frequently feel cold at altitude, but instead of asking, they layer clothing or endure discomfort. Asking politely can often result in a free blanket, even in economy. The same applies to pillows. While smaller and simpler than premium cabin pillows, they still provide neck and lower back support that can make a huge difference. Another overlooked free item is water. While beverages are offered periodically, you don't have to wait for service. You can request water at any time, and flight attendants are happy to provide it. Staying hydrated reduces fatigue, headaches, and stiffness, especially for older travelers. Many passengers ration water because they don't want to bother the crew, but hydration is considered a basic onboard need. Another comfort item many don't know about is ice packs or warm compresses. Seniors dealing with joint pain, swelling, or muscle discomfort can ask for ice or warm towels, depending on availability. Flight attendants are trained to assist with basic comfort requests, especially when health is involved. Another free option is seatbelt extenders. Many passengers feel embarrassed asking for them, and try to manage discomfort silently. Flight attendants prefer you ask because extenders improve safety. Another overlooked comfort item is extra napkins, tissues, or wipes. These aren't luxury items, but they make long flights far more comfortable. Airlines don't advertise these small comforts because they rely on passengers not asking. When you know these items are available, the cabin feels less restrictive and more accommodating. 2. Free food and drink extras. You're allowed to request another category of free items passengers rarely take advantage of is food and drink extras. Most travelers assume the single snack or meal they're handed is all they're entitled to, but that's not always the case. On many flights, especially longer ones, airlines load extra snacks, drinks, and meals to account for delays, crew needs, and passenger requests. What they don't announce is that you can often ask for more. Seniors, in particular, may need additional snacks to manage blood sugar, medication timing, or comfort, but they hesitate to ask. Flight attendants are allowed to provide extra snacks if supplies allow. This includes crackers, cookies, pretzels, and other packaged items. Another free request many passengers don't know about is juice or soft drinks outside of scheduled service. You don't have to wait for the cart. You can ask at the galley. Flight attendants expect this. Another overlooked freebie is hot water. Seniors often travel with tea bags, instant soups, or oatmeal packets. Airlines provide hot water for free, even if those items aren't sold on board. Another secret is milk. It's often carried for coffee service or special meals, and passengers can request it, especially if they have dietary needs. Another little-known option is special meal leftovers. If you didn't pre-order a special meal but have dietary restrictions, Flight attendants may still have extra meals that can be given out after service. They don't announce this because availability varies, but asking politely near the end of service sometimes works. Another free option is refills. On many flights, refills are allowed, especially for non-alcoholic drinks. Airlines don't advertise this because it increases service workload. Seniors often avoid asking because they don't want to seem demanding, but these requests are considered normal. When passengers understand that food and drink flexibility exists, flights feel far less restrictive and much more humane. 3. Free help and assistance. You're entitled to during the flight. One of the most overlooked categories of free things on a flight is assistance. Many passengers assume that once they're seated, they're on their own unless there's an emergency. That's not true. Airlines quietly provide a wide range of free help during flights, especially for seniors, but they don't openly advertise it. Flight attendants are trained to assist with mobility, comfort, and basic needs throughout the journey. One common example is help with overhead bins. Many passengers strain themselves lifting bags because they think asking for help is inappropriate. In reality, flight attendants prefer you ask rather than risk injury. Seniors are especially encouraged to request assistance, and doing so does not inconvenience the crew. Another free service is help getting in and out of your seat. On long flights, stiffness and joint pain are common. Flight attendants can steady you, guide you to the aisle, or help you navigate to the restroom safely. Another little-known free option is seat reassignment within the same cabin. If the flight is not full and a seat becomes available, you can politely ask to move to a more comfortable location, such as an aisle or empty row. Airlines don't announce this because availability changes, but crew members often accommodate when possible. Another overlooked free service is onboard medical support. Flight attendants are trained in basic first aid and can provide items like bandages, antiseptic wipes, or basic pain relief support. They can also coordinate with medical professionals on the ground if needed. Another important free assistance is help with special needs during turbulence or landing. Seniors who feel anxious or unsteady can request extra attention during these phases. Flight attendants are trained to monitor passengers who ask for help. Another quiet benefit is help with connecting flights. While not guaranteed, flight attendants can sometimes notify ground staff if you're worried about a tight connection. Airlines don't advertise this, but it happens more often than passengers realize. Asking for help doesn't make you demanding. It signals awareness and responsibility. When passengers understand that assistance is part of airline service, flights become safer and more comfortable. 4. Free amenities and services hidden in the cabin. Beyond comfort and assistance, airlines also offer small amenities and services that most passengers never realize are free. These items are often stored discreetly and only provided when requested. One example is basic toiletries. On longer flights, many airlines carry items like toothbrushes, toothpaste, eye masks, or earplugs. These are not limited to premium cabins on all airlines. They're often available on request, especially if you explain a need. Seniors who forget essentials or struggle with dry cabin air can benefit greatly from these items. Another hidden freebie is wet wipes or sanitizing wipes. While not always distributed, crew members often have extras. Another overlooked service is cabin lighting adjustments for comfort. While you can't control the entire cabin, flight attendants can sometimes dim or adjust lights near you if possible, especially on night flights. Another free option is information. Flight attendants can provide real-time updates about turbulence, weather, and arrival timing that aren't always announced. Seniors often feel anxious during delays, and asking for updates can reduce stress. Another hidden perk is access to the galley for stretching or standing during long flights when conditions allow. Crew members don't announce this, but polite requests are often approved. Another free amenity is extra headphones if yours stop working. Airlines carry spares, but they don't proactively offer replacements. Another overlooked service is assistance with seat comfort items like lumbar pillows or rolled blankets for back support. Flight attendants are creative problem solvers when asked. Airlines don't advertise these amenities because they rely on passengers accepting minimal service. When travelers know what exists, they can ask confidently and make flights far more comfortable without spending extra money. 5. Free courtesy services. Airlines won't mention unless you ask. One of the most surprising things passengers don't realize is how many courtesy-based services airlines quietly provide for free. These are not advertised because they're based on discretion, timing, and availability, but they exist on most flights. One of the biggest examples is seat-related courtesy adjustments. If your seat is uncomfortable, malfunctioning, or causing pain, you are allowed to report it. Flight attendants can sometimes provide cushions, adjust armrests, or even move you if another seat becomes available later in the flight. Seniors often tolerate discomfort because they assume nothing can be done once boarding is complete. Another free courtesy service is temperature accommodation. Aircraft cabins are kept cool for safety reasons, but if you're cold, you can ask for an extra blanket or a warm drink even outside service times. Flight attendants expect these requests. Another overlooked courtesy is restroom assistance timing. Seniors who need restroom access during turbulence can discreetly inform a flight attendant. While safety rules still apply, crew members can often help coordinate the safest possible timing. Another quiet courtesy involves announcements. If you're nervous about turbulence, descent, or landing, you can ask a flight attendant to give you advance notice before certain phases of the flight. They won't announce this publicly, but they often check in personally. Another free service is help communicating with other passengers. If someone nearby is disruptive, loud, or invading personal space, you can ask a flight attendant to intervene. Airlines don't advertise this, but conflict management is part of crew training. Another overlooked courtesy is assistance with lost or damaged items on board. If something breaks or disappears during the flight attendants can document it immediately, which helps later claims. Seniors often wait until landing, losing valuable details. Another hidden courtesy is extra time. If you need more time to disembark safely, flight attendants can help you wait until the aisle clears. Airlines don't announce this because it affects turnaround speed. Courtesy services exist to make flights humane. When passengers ask politely, these services often appear without resistance. 6. Free information and flexibility that can save you money and stress. Another category of free things passengers rarely think to ask for is information. On flights, information can be just as valuable as physical items. Flight attendants often know details about connections, delays, gate changes, and weather impacts before they're announced publicly. Seniors traveling with tight connections can ask if their next flight is boarding nearby, or if delays are expected. This information can help you decide whether to rush or move calmly. Another overlooked free benefit is flexibility guidance. Flight attendants can sometimes explain rebooking options, missed connection procedures, or who to speak to upon landing. While they don't rebook flights themselves, their advice can save hours of confusion. Another free information service involves baggage. Crew members often know which carousels are likely to be used or whether delays are expected. Another hidden benefit is priority assistance notes. If you struggled during the flight attendants can sometimes notify ground staff discreetly to provide help on arrival. This isn't guaranteed, but it happens more than passengers realize. Another overlooked free option is clarification of airline rules. Seniors often worry about carry-on limits, seat policies, or boarding procedures. Flight attendants can clarify rules accurately, preventing mistakes later. Another important information-based freebie is honesty. If you ask respectfully, flight attendants often give realistic expectations about turbulence, delays, or arrival timing instead of scripted announcements. Airlines don't advertise this because it requires time and trust. Another free flexibility benefit is kindness-based upgrades in small ways, like moving seats after service or offering unused items near the end of a flight. None of this is guaranteed, but all of it starts with asking. When passengers understand that information and flexibility are part of airline service, they gain confidence and reduce stress without spending a dollar. 7. Free small favors that add up to a much better flight. There are small, quiet favors flight attendants can offer that most passengers never think to ask for, yet these little things can dramatically improve comfort and peace of mind. One of the most common is reseating after takeoff. Even if boarding felt full, seats often open once passengers fail to show up or are upgraded. After the seatbelt sign turns off, you can politely ask if moving is possible. Seniors benefit greatly from extra legroom, aisle access, or an empty middle seat, but airlines don't announce availability. Another overlooked favor is extra trash collection. If your area becomes cluttered, you can ask a flight attendant to clear it at any time. This reduces stress and makes movement easier, especially on long flights. Another quiet favor is pacing service. If you need food later because of medication timing or digestion issues, you can ask to receive your meal later or earlier if possible. Flight attendants often accommodate these requests without issue. Another free favor is holding items during turbulence. If you're unsteady, attendants can hold drinks, hot items, or trays until it's safe. Another hidden courtesy is help with overhead bin organization. Flight attendants can rearrange items to make space or retrieve things mid-flight, something many passengers think is forbidden. Seniors often avoid accessing bins because of balance concerns, but help is available. Another favor is priority restroom guidance. While no one can reserve a restroom, flight attendants can quietly advise when one is likely to be free or less busy. Another overlooked free gesture is checking on you more often if you're anxious or uncomfortable. Crew members mentally note passengers who ask for help and often keep an eye on them throughout the flight. Airlines don't promote these favors because they depend on crew workload, but they're part of service culture. These small requests don't cost money, yet they can turn a stressful flight into a manageable one. 8. Free arrival and deplaning help. Most passengers miss. The end of the flight is often rushed, chaotic, and physically demanding. which is why many free arrival-related services go unused. One of the biggest mistakes passengers make is assuming help ends when the plane lands. It doesn't. Flight attendants can assist with deplaning, especially for seniors who need more time or stability. You can ask to remain seated until the aisle clears so you don't feel pressured or pushed. This is a free courtesy that greatly reduces fall risk. Another overlooked service is help retrieving carry-on items. Many seniors strain themselves reaching overhead bins while other passengers crowd behind them. Flight attendants prefer you ask for help rather than risk injury. Another hidden arrival benefit is gate information. Crew members often know which gate your connection will use or whether ground staff has been alerted about tight connections. Asking early can save confusion later. Another free service is coordination with airport assistants. If you realize during the flight that you'll need a wheelchair or escort, flight attendants can notify ground teams before landing. Airlines don't announce this option, but it's available. Another overlooked benefit is arrival announcements tailored to you. Crew members can quietly let you know when it's safest to stand or when doors are likely to open, reducing anxiety. Another free help involves baggage issues. If you suspect your bag was damaged or misplaced during boarding, flight attendants can document concerns immediately. Another quiet service is emotional support. Long flights can be overwhelming, and crew members are trained to recognize stress. Asking for reassurance or updates is not a burden. Arrival doesn't have to feel rushed and unsafe. When passengers know help continues through landing and deplaning, the end of the journey becomes calmer and safer. 9. Free kindness-based extras that come from simply asking politely. One of the biggest unspoken truths about flying is that politeness unlocks more free help than any status level. Airlines don't advertise this, but kindness often leads to unexpected extras. Flight attendants have discretion, and they use it most generously with passengers who communicate calmly and respectfully. This can include extra snacks near the end of service, unused amenity items, better seating options later in the flight, or more personalized attention. Seniors who treat crew members with patience often receive more check-ins and comfort offers. Another overlooked benefit is flexibility during disruptions. When delays or turbulence occur, polite passengers are more likely to receive clear explanations and realistic expectations instead of generic announcements. Another kindness-based extra is small celebrations. Mentioning a birthday, anniversary, or first flight sometimes leads to simple gestures like cards or announcements, depending on airline culture. Another quiet perk is honesty. Crew members are more likely to share helpful, truthful insights with passengers who treat them well. None of these extras are guaranteed, but they happen every day. Airlines don't publicize kindness-based perks because they can't be standardized, but they're real. Flying doesn't have to feel transactional. When passengers understand that asking politely opens doors to free comfort, information, and assistance, the entire experience feels more human. 10. Free reassurance, explanations, and peace of mind. You're allowed to ask for. One of the most powerful free things you can ask for on a flight costs nothing, takes no inventory, and yet makes a massive difference: reassurance. Airlines never advertise this, but flight attendants are trained to explain what's happening when passengers feel anxious, confused, or uneasy. Many travelers, especially seniors, sit silently during turbulence, delays, strange noises, or sudden altitude changes, assuming they shouldn't ask questions. In reality, asking for an explanation is completely acceptable. Flight attendants often know exactly what's happening and can tell you whether turbulence is expected to worsen, how long it may last, or whether a noise is normal. Another overlooked free benefit is advance warning. If you're nervous about descent, landing, or turbulence, you can ask a flight attendant to give you a heads up before it happens. They won't announce this to the whole cabin, but they often check in quietly with passengers who ask. Another hidden comfort is honest context. While public announcements are often vague, crew members can usually explain things in simpler, calmer terms one-on-one. This helps reduce fear, especially for passengers who don't fly often. Another free reassurance is emotional grounding. Flight attendants are trained to notice distress and can talk you through breathing, posture, or simple calming techniques. Seniors often feel embarrassed asking for this, but it's part of passenger care. Another overlooked option is asking for updates instead of waiting in uncertainty. Crew members often have more information than what's shared over the speaker. Another quiet benefit is confirmation. If you're unsure whether something is normal, you can ask. Hearing, "Yes, this is routine," can instantly reduce stress. Airlines don't promote this because reassurance isn't measurable like snacks or seats. But peace of mind is one of the most valuable free things you can receive on a flight, and it's always available if you ask. The truth is, flying doesn't have to feel rigid, uncomfortable, or expensive if you know what you're allowed to ask for. Many of the best parts of airline service are quiet, unadvertised, and completely free, simply because airlines rely on passengers staying silent. When you ask politely and confidently, flights become smoother, safer, and far more comfortable. If this video helped you see flying differently, make sure to like it so more travelers can benefit. Subscribe to the channel for more airline and airport tips they don't announce. And share this video with someone who's flying soon, because knowing what you can ask for might completely change their next flight.